There is a kind of man the world never notices until the day it cannot ignore him. He does not announce his struggles. He does not broadcast his dreams. He simply works, day after day, in the quiet spaces where no one watches, building something the world will one day stop and stare at. You may have passed such a man on the street. You may have underestimated him. You may, without knowing it, have become him. Stay with me, because this story is not just about a weaver and a stonemason in a small Indian village. It is about what happens when silence becomes a strategy and action becomes a language more powerful than any words ever spoken. In the valley town of Nangan, cradled between two old rivers and a ridge of red hills, there lived two men whose hands told their stories before their mouths ever could. Arjun was a weaver, patient, methodical, a craftsman of soft silks and sturdy cottons that the women of 3 villages sought by name. But beneath his calm exterior lived a shadow. Arjun was proud. Not arrogantly, not loudly, but quietly and dangerously proud in the way that causes a man to believe his talent alone is enough, that the world will find him, that he need not reach for it. Vikram was a stonemason, broad-shouldered, calloused, with a jaw that looked as though it had been cut from the same rock he shaped. Vikram had a different flaw. He spoke too much. He was the first to tell you his plans at the chai stall in the morning, the last to finish explaining his vision at sunset. The whole village knew what Vikram intended to do. They knew his designs for the new merchant's boundary wall, his plans to bid for the temple restoration, his dreams of one day sending stone carvings to the city markets. He spoke his dreams into the open air as if speaking them made them real. One spring, a merchant from the city came to Nangan looking for 2 things: a fine sea saul, ilk for his daughter's wedding, and a craftsman to build a stone archway at the entrance of his new estate. He was a practical man, unhurried, with sharp eyes that measured everything twice. He visited Arjun's workshop first. Arjun, proud and composed, showed him 3 finished pieces, each breathtaking, each proof of a lifetime's mastery. He said very little. He let the silk speak. The merchant ran his fingers along the weave, held it to the light streaming through the narrow window, and nodded slowly. He placed an order, a large one, and asked when it would be ready. Arjun gave a date. No elaboration, no promises beyond what his hands could keep. Then the merchant walked to Vikram's corner of the village, where Vikram sat at the chai stall instead of his worksite, eagerly describing to 3 other men the grand archway he planned to carve. The lotus motifs, the depth of the relief work, the imported chisels he intended to buy. His eyes were bright, his words were beautiful. But when the merchant asked to see his recent work, Vikram grew quiet for the first time. He gestured vaguely toward a half-finished boundary wall 3 streets over, its edges rough, its pattern unresolved. "I've been planning the bigger project," Vikram explained. "This one will be extraordinary." The merchant looked at the wall. He looked at Vikram. He thanked him politely and walked away. The seasons changed, one after another, turning like pages in a long and patient book. Arjun worked. Every morning before the village stirred, his loom was already singing. He did not post his finished pieces at the market stall or tell his neighbors what he was producing. He simply wove. Silk the color of river water at dusk, cotton as sturdy as the red earth beneath their feet. Word traveled, as it always does, not through announcement but through experience. The merchant's daughter wore her wedding silk, and 3 of her guests asked who made it. Those 3 told 5 others. Those 5 became orders that arrived quietly at Arjun's door. Vikram, meanwhile, continued to plan. He bid for the temple restoration and promised the committee a timeline he could not keep. He began the work late, delivered it incomplete, and when pressed, offered explanations as elaborate as his original proposals. The committee was patient at first, then they were not. The contract passed to a mason from the next town, a man who said almost nothing in the meeting, showed only his portfolio of finished work, and left the room. Years passed like monsoon clouds, heavy with consequence, impossible to hurry. By the time 5 years had come and gone, the difference between the 2 men was visible to anyone who cared to look. Arjun's small workshop had expanded. He employed 2 young apprentices. His silks had reached the city markets not through ambition loudly declared, but through reputation quietly earned. He still did not speak much. He did not need to. His work walked into rooms before he did. Vikram sat at the same chai stall. His tools were older, his opportunities had thinned. He was still planning, still describing, still speaking the language of future greatness while the present slipped the rough as fingers like dry sand. One evening, an old mason visited Nandgaon, a man so ancient his hands looked like carved wood themselves. He sat across from Vikram at the stall and listened to him describe his next great project. When Vikram finished, the old man was quiet for a long time. Then he said something Vikram had never considered. "A river does not announce itself before it carves the canyon," the old man said. "The canyon simply appears, and everyone who sees it understands what the water was doing all those years in silence." He pointed across the lane to where Arjun's workshop glowed with soft lamplight, the sound of the loom steady and low, like a heartbeat. "That man," the elder said, "has been carving his canyon." Vikram sat with that for a long time. He did not go home and make grand plans that night. Instead, for the first time in years, he went to his worksite at dawn the next morning before anyone was watching, picked up his chisel, and simply began. This ancient wisdom speaks to us today. In our modern world of social media declarations and public goal setting, where we are encouraged to announce every intention and broadcast every dream, Arjun and Vikram's story whispers something uncomfortable but essential. Words are not work, and plans are not progress. First, understand that silence is not absence, it is focus. The greatest craftsmen of every era were not the ones who talked about their vision most eloquently. They were the ones who protected their energy, kept their heads down, and let their output speak with a voice no human throat could match. Second, recognize that action is a language. Every completed task, every delivered promise, every piece of work that exceeds expectation, these communicate more about your character than a lifetime of careful explanation. The world does not reward intention, it responds to result. Third, remember that reputation is built in the quiet moments, the early mornings before the audience arrives, the late evenings when no one is checking, the choice to finish what you started, even when the excitement has faded. These private disciplines accumulate into the public character the world eventually sees. Fourth, understand the compounding nature of consistent work. Arjun did not become known in a day. He became known in 1,000 days, each one unremarkable on its own, but together forming something the world could not overlook. Every day you work in silence is a deposit. Every promise you keep is interest. Every completed piece is the beginning of a reputation that no announcement can manufacture and no setback can fully erase. Take a moment today and ask yourself honestly, am I building or am I announcing? Am I working or am I performing the idea of working? Because there is a version of your life that is being quietly carved right now in the small choices no one is watching. Work hard in silence. Let your life make the noise.